Good morning, everybody. All right, so our keynote speaker today is Larry Feldman. And originally hailing from Philadelphia, Larry's journey through life has taken him on a path filled with many accomplishments. I've had the great pleasure of knowing Larry since 1979. You didn't hear that wrong, it's 1979. We got kids way back in the 1900s. At that time, he was starting a band, and I saw an ad for a drummer in the local newspaper. I auditioned and became part of the band. I knew from the start that Larry possessed incredible talents in many areas. As a musician, the first thing that I noticed was that Larry was a gifted songwriter and performer, and with that gift, Larry has continued to produce incredible songs to this day, while still performing at live events with the same band that was started in 1979. John and Peters, June 22nd, 3 to 6 p.m. All right, a little plug there. All right, so at that time in 1979, Larry was running his own business called ABF White Walls. His business serviced the automotive industry, which is where Larry has remained throughout the years, in addition to honing his craft as a musician, songwriter, and performer. He then went to work as a car salesman at Colonial Cadillac, where he rose through the ranks, achieving the status as Salesman of the Month numerous times. However, his career didn't stop there. Larry is also a published author, whose book, Inner Moron Demons, has earned great acclaim within literary circles and the general public. He currently owns his own successful business, Career Changers USA, which he began several years ago. Larry's complete dedication to every task that he pursues, his absolute determination to get the job done right, his consistent work ethic, and the respect that he has for everyone in his life, all come together to make him a compelling keynote speaker for the New Hope Academy graduating class of 2024. I give you Larry Feldman.
The mic might have cut out. He said that was June 22nd at John and Peters. I want to thank Kathy, the faculty, the staff, students for letting me speak to you today. But if you don't mind, since I love to interrupt my own speeches, I'm going to actually quote from Katie and Ann, because I thought it was really interesting what they said, because I think it would apply just as much to high school graduates as to adults. Can I call myself an adult here?
I think so.
Didn't mind me.
Don't call me.
For once, I'm speechless. I'm going to start with Ann. She said when she took skiing, she had this terrifying feeling like she was going downhill, and all of a sudden, it made sense. I don't know, I'm quite a bit older than her, and I still feel like I'm kind of going downhill, and all of a sudden, every once in a while, it starts to make a little bit of sense. I thought it was interesting that Katie said, well, I really was uncomfortable, and I didn't think this was going to work, and it's worked out beautifully. Again, is there anybody in this room that doesn't feel the same way about some aspect of their life? Where we get involved in something and we go, what am I doing? Why am I here? What's going on? I think if we embrace these things, and they go forward confidently with the idea that you may never get over that feeling, it's pretty interesting in life. We tend to always be grasping and thinking, what exactly am I doing and how am I doing it? But as scary as it is, that's probably what makes life so much fun. Because I think we'll all agree, nobody wants to be bored. So the idea of things are always challenging us and pushing us might make some sense. When I hear speeches, and I've seen the same ones I'm sure you have, they tend to talk about the future and how important it is and how to grasp it. If you don't mind, I'm going to kind of go in the other direction. And I'm going to talk more about focusing on the here and now. Because from the mistakes I've made, I can tell you that procrastination will ruin everything you do. That it's better to try something and fail at it than to not try at all. Just remember, to not make a decision is to actually make a decision. So going along those lines, and maybe cautioning you on something that might hold you back, I'm going to make you question why Dave invited me to be your speaker, because my topic is going to be, what does Charlie Brown, Spider-Man, Elvis Presley, and Mother Teresa have in common? I can see you nod your head going, yep, Dave picked a crazy man to speak to us. Well, let me compare and contrast, and maybe it'll make a point. I hope. Charlie Brown, for anybody that has enjoyed the Peanuts as much as I have, was sculpted and created by a gentleman named Charles Schultz, who was a very insecure young guy. And what he did is he poured all his insecurities into a character named Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown just willed things to go wrong, right? He just, on Halloween, everybody got candy, he got rocks. Everything. I'm still wincing to this day when I see Lucy hold the football and pull it away right before he was going to kick it. It was almost like, okay, I know things are going to go wrong, let them go wrong. And unfortunately, I still see a lot of people do that today, and they're not cartoon characters. Spider-Man, some of you have seen these Marvel movies. I guess from the money, everybody's seen these Marvel movies. But me and Dave are really old. We actually read the comic books when they came out. And Spider-Man was created by a genius named Stan Lee. Now, if you're an inveterate guy, maybe our age, you might have read some comic books, and there was two major players. There was DC, which was Superman, and it was really simple. Superman was good, everybody else was bad. But Stan Lee was smart enough to bring, don't laugh, neuroses into comic books. Everybody at Marvel was a little neurotic. And Spider-Man might have been the greatest example. He was bitten, very nerdy, kind of bookish guy. He was bitten by a radioactive spider and all of a sudden transformed with these unbelievable powers. Now, his family was really shaky financially. He lived with his Aunt May and his Uncle Ben. And he decided to drum up some money now that he had these unbelievable skills. And he decided, I'll be a wrestler. Gosh, who's going to stop me with this strength and agility? And he fashioned a crude mask, not the one that we now know as Spider-Man's mask. And he wrestled. And he won, and he gave him some money. And as he was walking out, a cop hollered at him, hey, stop that guy. He's a burglar. And he kind of went, well, it's not really my job. He let the guy go. Unfortunately, that same burglar killed his Uncle Ben. And it was a guilt he carried on forever. I kind of think Stan Lee dug into the Bible, where it says, to those much is given, much is expected, and he transformed that into great power comes great responsibility. So Spider-Man is one character that's consumed by guilt all the time. Always, am I doing the right thing? What could I have done differently? Mother Teresa, and this comes from somebody who's Jewish. I don't know that there's anybody more devout that we'll ever see than Mother Teresa. Canonized as a saint, one person you would think would never have questions of faith. Yet if you're familiar with her story, she had multiple crises of faith. Multiple times if she wondered if she was on the right path, if she was serving God. Now, again, that'd be the one person you wouldn't think of. Now, if I talked to Elvis, like before this movie came out, you might have looked at me like I had three heads, right? But anybody that saw the movie or has seen anything Elvis knows, unbelievably handsome guy, unbelievably charismatic, amazing singing voice. I mean, really, I'm a Beatles and Stones fan. Every group will tell you their main influence was Elvis. Unbelievable world reach. You would think he'd be one person that would be completely secure. Wrong. He was manipulated and controlled by a gentleman named Colonel Parker. This guy took 50% of everything that he did and made, controlled his career, and really did everything he could to destroy it. I mean, I love Elvis, but you'd have to like put a gun on my head to make me sit through any of those movies, right? Obviously seen too many of those movies. Sorry, I brought up a painful memory there. The point is, how much more secure would you have to be if you're Elvis Presley? All of these people battled self-esteem problems. Now, you're graduating, you look great. I mean, Dave and I have an oddball on you. You look smart, you look terrific. You've done something you should be proud of. But just like myself and everybody else in this room, you're going to be occasionally plagued by self-doubt. It almost borders on the imposter syndrome. Well, do I belong here? I hope nobody finds out I'm not good at this. But here's the great news. Everybody feels that way. It's not just you or me, it's everybody. And once we understand that, we can use it to empower ourselves. Because once we realize that everybody feels a little insecure, a little worried, and everybody feels like they're kind of going downhill and out of control, it makes it a little easier to navigate our way through life. Look at it this way. The things you haven't accomplished, instead of beating yourself up, you've just provided yourself with more incentive to accomplish things that you just haven't gotten to yet. I hope that makes sense. Again, you look like a great team, but as long as you can understand that, and one other thing, I see a nod in your head. When you hear people brag and you think, man, they're really confident, they're the least confident. These are usually the people who are overcompensating. They have to announce to the whole world, this is how good I am, because maybe in their own heart they don't really feel or believe it. As you all know, and as Dave so eloquently stated, we're musicians. Let me throw one more musician at you, and I'll go in some other directions after that. John Lennon. I'm a huge Beatles fan. I'm well aware that Paul McCartney's probably the most talented member of the band. Every instrument he played great. He had the highest range in the band, but I love John Lennon. For anybody that's a music fan, I mean, I can't get past I Am the Walrus and, Happiness is a Warm Gun and all that stuff. Brilliant songwriter. Maybe the most brilliant. But I love his voice. You look like you're being very attentive. Do you know who didn't love his voice? John Lennon. Everybody else thought the guy was incredible. When he would get into the studio, they had a producer named George Martin, and he would harangue him to put every possible effect, double track it, put anything on it, because he didn't like the sound of his own voice. So once again, you're a little too young to realize, you know who Taylor Swift is, you see it, the Beatles changed everything. It's like overnight the whole world evolved, changed, and 42 million guys like me and Dave Kennedy wanted to be in a band. I think I'd be pretty comfortable if I sounded half as good as John Lennon. The point is, as human beings, it's not just that there's negativity all around us, it's that we pull negativity in. And once we get better at putting up our shield and saying, you know what, I'm going to leave that stuff off. It's a very corny but a straightforward analogy. If you're on a boat, I don't care if it's a giant liner or a rowboat, as long as the water's outside, you're fine. When the water gets in, the ship sinks. Well, the negativity is all around you. Keep it away from you. I mean, I'm sure you've encountered some. And you've seen that most of the stuff that they told you mattered didn't really matter in the end, right? You're here, you got your diplomas. Or I guess they're going to get this diplomas, right? I already blew up the ceremony. I'm not even halfway through my speech. Everything is impossible until it happens. When I train a lot, I love to ask people, well, I ask you, you look cool. You know what penicillin is derived from? Moldy bread. Now, prior to penicillin, it was really simple. If you got an infection, you lost your leg, and you died. You talk about a world-changing event. Who would have thought moldy bread would change the world? We just talked about Elvis. They told him to go back to driving a truck. I don't know. I think I would have seen some kind of talent in a guy that changed the world. The point is, we are what we are, and we have to accept it and also allow to be better, to grow. I'm going to quote Oscar Wilde. He said, be yourself because everybody else is taken. Again, instead of, particularly in a time of social media, when we obsess about people we don't know or compare ourselves to people, I was going to say the hell with it, but I don't know what your rules are, Kathy. I'll say the heck with these people, okay? Focus on how good you can be and what you can do, and it's amazing what you can come up with. I actually wrote some things down so I did the stuff correctly. If you move forward, and as you move forward, you're going to realize there's two things that are really in your control. It's your time and your attitude. I got a feeling you're all going to be successful. You've accomplished some great things. And you're going to laugh as you start making a lot of money and being successful, because you're going to realize that people that are successful always find time to do what they have to do. And the unsuccessful people, for some reason, can't seem to make sense of their day. The other thing you have is your attitude. It's amazing what we can do from the inside out if we have a good attitude. And if I called anybody in this audience and said, you're not going to like this, I haven't even told you already don't like it. We don't realize how much effect we have on the people around us. Now you realize because you came into a school and they made you better and they pushed you and they gave you confidence. But we all have that power. If you smile at somebody and you're nice to them on a bad day, you might really have an effect on them. But again, it's our mindset. If you decide you want to be happy and you want to be upbeat and you want to look at things positively, you're good. But it sounds like an old guy again, but forget it. My father always told me everybody in the graveyard would get up and take every one of your problems. I mean, how significant are your problems when you look at some of the things other people are going through? And we all have the same amount of time in the day. It's not like some of us have like a little bit longer. There's 64 minutes in the hour. How we choose to use our time, how we terminate our attitude to the people around us is going to make a huge, huge difference. Did they teach you physics? Did you enjoy it? Because I didn't start with this. You hated it? You can tell he's smart. He cheated off of her paper. Always go with the battle. Okay. So let me throw some physics at you. Sir Isaac Newton. For anyone that doesn't know, this guy was so brilliant, he invented calculus in his spare time. I couldn't even, pass calculus, he invented it. But he has two laws. Oh, by the way, this is the same gentleman that discovered the gravitational pull of the Earth. An apple fell out of a tree and he went, wait a minute, it didn't go up and it didn't stay still. He's got two laws that'll make you happy and make you successful. His first law is things in motion tend to stay in motion and things at rest tend to stay at rest. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm lecturing you because I'm not, okay? I like being really busy. I like it at the end of the day when I've accomplished a million things, I'm worn out, and I can't wait to get to it. I never like being bored. He mentioned that I was successful as a salesperson. I just don't want to be bored. I'd rather be talking to people and cashing checks than staring out the window and complaining. The second rule is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. You've already been told by your teachers, by your bosses, the guys who were in the service, by your sergeant to do some stuff that you did not want to do. But when you found that it led you in a different direction, something you didn't know, it's pretty amazing. Hey, maybe they beat you up in the army or whatever branch you served in, and it wound up saving your life. So the guy that you called all kinds of terrible names, you were glad. Look at things with an open mind, and always try to be energetic. Dave's been my drummer for 40 years, and I can brag to you correctly that we play as hard now as we did over 40 years ago. Any disagree? Principal just backed me up. I gave him a whole lot of credibility. Perfect. In closing, all I really want to say to you is you should be proud of what you've accomplished. Don't fear the future. Man, attack everything. And if you're surrounded by negative people, remember, if you can't elevate somebody, it's okay to walk away from them before they try to drag you down. You're going to find out in your life that a lot of people won't believe in you. Make sure you're not one of those people. I wish you absolutely the best of luck. I hope you approach everything with a great attitude and a wholehearted effort. If you do that, you'll be very pleased with what happens. I thank you for your time. Congratulations.
We thank you. So thank you, Larry. We appreciate it.